Kia ora koutou, and welcome to South Pacific Muscle. And tonight's guest, we've got Kate Mitchell, and wow, what a resume. For those that don't know Kate, or haven't had the pleasure or otherwise of training with her, as I had, a little bit of background. So about 2012, Kate was the New Zealand CrossFit champion. 2015, she won the NZ IFBB Women's Physique. 2017 was a huge year, winning the Arnold Classic Strongwoman champs, the New Zealand Strongest Woman, placed second in Strongest Woman in the world and fifth in World's Strongest Woman, and also received her pro card in Strongwoman. So that was a massive achievement. I think probably our first pro competitor on that platform. 2018, she carried on, went into powerlifting and won the Pro Raw. She was the NZ IFBB Women's Physique Champion again in 2018 and received an IFBB Pro card. 2019, she did a pro debut. So what Mike Kingsnorth describes as one of the best debuts he's ever seen, placing 14th at the Legion Sport Festival. So a phenomenal event. You've got the tracksuit. Really jealous. I love the tracksuit.
I didn't get a tracksuit. I didn't receive a tracksuit. I know. I was devastated.
Probably for Mike's one. Still Mike's one of them. And just this year, Kate has gone back in strongman and won Auckland's Strongest Woman. So what a resume. One that I think many of us would aspire to having, those that have dabbled in all of the strength sports and the powerlifting. But welcome, Kate. Really good to have you on board.
Yeah, that's really nice to be here. I'm really glad to have the opportunity to talk to you guys.
Awesome. Hey, Mike, do you want to kick off some quick fire questions?
Yeah, I don't want to make a personal thank you to you, Kate, for coming on. I'm super impressed with the quality of people that have conceded to come on our little show. So thanks very much for joining us. Let's start with your early days. So before bodybuilding, before powerlifting, were you an avid sports person in your youth? Did you play sports?
I was very lucky to be brought up by my dad, and he was a professional horse rider. So right from day dot, I was into equestrian. I was riding before I could walk. So I was competitive in that field for quite a few years. And then I moved on to triathlon, which again was a great sport to be involved with. It taught me so many things like discipline, about how to, look after myself, be fit and healthy. And so ever since I can remember, I've been competitive in some way and shape in athletic pursuit.
Would you say that it was predominantly slow twitch fibers, predominantly endurance stuff, or did you mix in some explosive stuff when you were young as well?
It was all slow twitch. I can train for hours and hours at a very, light to moderate intensity. I'm not particularly good at the high intensity stuff. I'm still working on that, but definitely endurance based.
Cool. So what made you start lifting? When and why?
I was very lucky. When I did triathlon, I was part of the New Zealand Academy of Sport, and we were matched up with personal trainers to help us to get a bit stronger because we all tend to be quite thin and quite scrawny looking. And I was matched up with a guy who took me into the gym, and he really taught me about progressive overload. So every session I did with him, there was a purpose. So we did baseline testing to start off with, and then every session we would try and increase the amount we lifted or number of reps. And that was when I saw the benefits of strength training in terms of there was always a purpose. And then obviously as I got stronger and I felt stronger, I became addicted to that feeling of strength and of achieving a personal best each time. And I was hooked. And that was probably when I was about 13. So since then I was like, this is amazing.
Cool. Well, you've sort of almost answered my next question, which was what made you want to start lifting aggressively or push for numbers? But I guess you just got that bug and followed through with that. So
definitely.
like I said,
there's just no better feeling, I think, than to lift more than you ever lifted in your whole life. To do a PB and to know that you're the strongest you've ever been at that moment in time. It's such a powerful feeling, and I always I want to chase that all the time.
So I could see the transition for a female athlete into CrossFit. I mean, that's pretty common. But I could see you doing that for functional strength, and it relates pretty well to triathlon and the sports stuff. But what made you switch to purely physique competing?
Yeah, so when I was doing CrossFit at that time, I was quite young, and I thought I was completely bulletproof, and I would train for 6 or 7 hours a day. I did no rehab or prehab, no stretching. I ate paleo brownies most of the time. And just that intensity on the body, I had so many injuries. I had a couple of slap tears in my shoulder. I had back issues. And I never did anything about it. And if I could go back in time, I'd look after myself a lot better. But I really, basically ruined my body too much to be able to continue in CrossFit. So I had to switch over to a sport which I could be a bit more in control of and that my body could handle. So, I mean, I love CrossFit. It's such a fun sport. But for me, my body had enough.
Look, you've made some really impressive switches between strength to powerlifting to bodybuilding, back to strength, back to powerlifting. So how much does your training change and for how long before you start changing to a new event?
Yeah, so I found that it's quite easy to combine powerlifting and strongman. They really go quite well together. And in the past, I've always found it quite good to do like a 3-day powerlifting split along with a 2 or 3 day strongman split. I found that to be actually a really good combination where both the sports combine for their own good. The problem was trying to add bodybuilding into the mix because that's definitely a different sport. And I did try and combine them for a while, but bodybuilding is such a specific type of sport, specific training, specific nutrition plan that I have found that I've had to choose between either powerlifting, strongman, or bodybuilding. I haven't found a way to combine them successfully. So at the moment, bodybuilding's the focus. And if I wanted to switch back, I have to dramatically change the training.
But there is a relatively short turnaround between you winning Strongwoman competitions and then getting your IFBB Pro card. So how long did you sort of specifically focus on bodybuilding and train for that leading up to your IFBB success?
For that particular, to win my Pro card, it was from March, I won Pro Raw. So from March to October, so about 8 months or so. But I won my Pro card, which was amazing, but I did have the problem of having quite a thick waist. A lot of the strongman carries and the heavy events, they contribute to that thick waist, the thick core, amazing for strength and stability. But in bodybuilding, especially in women's physique, that's not desirable. So I didn't have the best physique for bodybuilding. And I knew that if I wanted to take bodybuilding further, I needed to change my flow of the physique. So it was not too hard to, change in that time. But then to get to the next level of physique, I would need to change a lot of things.
I just want to jump in there because that's one of the things I noticed. And you can see in some of your older photos, you're quite wide. You're tight as anything, but classic strength athlete. And you managed to really bring your waist in absolutely significantly. What did you do differently to change that look?
Thank you. It's always a problem area for me. It still is. My waist seems to grow before anything else grows. Stopping training core as much. I have very developed abs. They don't need to be trained a lot. I get enough training for them, with things like leg press or squat anyway. But also, so probably not training them is the main thing. Not training so heavy that they're having to engage to that extreme. Wearing a belt. Diet, making sure that I'm not getting too overweight, for example, in the off season, it goes to the waist. But I'm still trying to work out the best way to bring it in because it still needs to be a lot smaller, so it's still a work in progress.
Oh, well, you've made significant progress here, so it just goes to show anything, you put your mind to, you certainly seem to achieve it, Kate. It's amazing.
I'll keep working on it, so thank you.
I'll take any tips you've got. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'll take any tips you've got.
Right, so getting into a little bit more of the sort of female strength and bodybuilding athlete side of things, did it take you time to love your muscular physique as a sort of contrast with sort of normal, I'll say normal, but social norms of a way a female should look? Did it take you a while to kind of relate to that or learn to love that or pursue that?
It really didn't, because ever since I can remember, I've always looked up to people like Iris Kyle, who is, a large bodybuilding lady. I just thought her physique was phenomenal. And that was back when I was 13, 14. I'd look at pictures of her and magazines and think, I wish I could look like that. So for me, I've always had this acceptance of the female bodybuilding physique. I've always loved it. So I'm not too sure if that might be different for other ladies that maybe don't have that just love for it. But for me, I've always loved my body, and I'm probably quite lucky in that respect that I've always been very proud of how I look. You know, I'd love to add more muscle. You know, the bigger I, you know, get muscle wise, the happier I am. So, you know, I think I'm lucky in that respect. But, you know, I'm sure it's not easy if someone feels a bit uncomfortable if they do have muscle.
I think you're also preaching to the converted here with me and Nate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting. Look, I've had some conversations recently with people, and I've shown people photos of athletes, and I've just went, have a look at this girl, just absolutely amazing. You know, over a number of athletes, and guys have gone, oh yeah, but she's so big, and I'm like, to me, it's just like, hallelujah. Look how much work she's put in. And I guess, you know, like for guys like Mike and I that have spent 30 years trying to, you know, put on the muscle, and we respect the work. And I think that's one of the things, when I first met Kate, I think it may have been just after you were training with Ruben, etc. And so Ruben introduced me, and, you know, I was like, wow, this is a girl that takes training really seriously. And I found out the hard way. I think we trained legs one day at Les Mills Vic, and all I remember, the only thing I remember from it is lunges and collapsing in a heap, and watching you keep going and do about twice the distance I did. And I thought, I just got my ass handed to me. And I'll never ever forget that. So whenever I see you, no matter what sport you're doing or what you're winning, that's my thought. There's that girl that handed my ass to me doing Les Mills Vic Street. But, you know, it's a real testament, I think, because, you know, very rare to find a guy that will push me in training and have me in a screaming heap on the ground. And yet, you know, for you, and you're giving up 20, 30 kilos, you know, it just shows the intensity that you bring to the gym. So how do you manage to keep that mindset day after day, which you really need to do at that pro level?
Oh, definitely, absolutely. And I had a really good conversation with David Neath last year about this, because it is hard to bring intensity to every session. You know, some days you're tired, you've had a bad day at work, whatever that could be. I find that once you're in the gym and once you start training, you know, it kind of just kicks into place. Like, it's the intensity for me seems to just happen once I'm in the gym. But it's hard for me to get pumped up before the gym if I'm not in that kind of space. I've definitely found that having a training partner helps immensely with intensity. It's really the key for me, is to have a good training partner. That's not always possible, of course, in which case I would use like drop sets or cluster sets to help bring intensity. But I have learned that having a good training partner is just worth its weight in gold, because even if you're having a bad day, they can bring something out in you that might not have been there otherwise.
Hey, you mentioned David Neath. Have you done a bit of work with David?
Yeah.
Cool. I don't know, a lot of our viewers may not have come across David. If you're interested in sports psychology and mental skills, David Neath, look him up, top guy. He's worked with some amazing athletes, and he brings another edge to the game. So big shout out to David.
Yeah, definitely. He's got some fantastic practical advice. So it's not just theoretical, but he can give you actual tips that you can apply in your actual training or in your real life. So he's worth his weight in gold. He's phenomenal.
Well, just to keep digging down into that sociology side of things, have you ever experienced any stigma, either in professional or interpersonal relationships, for the physique that you carry or the sport that you do?
I honestly haven't. Probably the most high profile job I've had is that I worked as a lecturer at a university for a couple of years, which you would think would be a place where they might not be so accepting of, you know, a larger physique or a different physique. But I worked there with, I'm covered in tattoos, I'm a larger lady, and not a problem. I think people are mostly just interested in what I do more than anything else. Like, and I'm always someone that's very happy to talk about it. I love discussing what I do. I like to talk about what I eat. So for me, it's more that people are curious. They might not understand the sport, but once you start talking to them about it and they understand why you do it, what you do, they're just really interested. It's just something that they might not have come across before. They might have lots of questions. So I've never experienced any stigma, especially in the workplace, but maybe just more curiosity, which maybe could come across as stigma in some cases, I think. And in terms of interpersonal relationships, I think the struggle that I have is it is hard to hold on to interpersonal relationships when you're always very busy. You know, as an athlete, you've always got too much to do. You've got your training, your food prep, your cardio, your posing. You know, you've got so much on your plate that finding time to carve out for friends and family can definitely be challenging. So I would say that it becomes more, time management is the issue there of maintaining interpersonal relationships. But I don't feel like anyone has ever said anything that's made me feel uncomfortable or made me feel like I'm less of a woman. I think I've been very lucky in that regard.
Yeah, I think people often just want to start a conversation and don't really know how to do it. Sometimes it's a bit awkward, sometimes it's a bit inept, they don't kind of quite know what to say, may say something offensive, but really they're probably just interested and want to have a conversation, right?
Oh, absolutely. The amount of people that say, oh, you've got big guns, or would you like to arm wrestle, or do you want to do a lift carry? But see, for me, I don't take that as offense. I think that's fantastic because they want to talk about my big guns. I think that's awesome. So maybe other people might find that offensive. I just like talking about it. So I'm always happy to, keep going with the conversation.
Cool. So do you have any advice for women getting into strength sports or physique competitions?
Yeah, I honestly think the best thing that a woman can do, whether it's for competing or just to, have a healthy lifestyle, I really think finding a great coach that you trust and that motivates you is so important, because it's quite a lonely journey to do by yourself. And, you start to have a lot of self-doubt, or you might question yourself. If you manage to find a coach who you can really work with as a partnership, your journey is going to be so much easier. It's just going to be a pleasurable, a fun journey. And I think it's important for women to know that it's okay to shop around for coaches as well. So it's okay to contact a lot of coaches and introduce yourself, say what your goal is, and ask what they might be able to offer you in terms of their coaching. Because, it's like a relationship. There's someone for everyone, but it might take a while to meet that right person. And once you do meet the right person, then you just wouldn't want to live without them, because, your coach is someone that's so important to you. So I think everyone, I know it can be a cost and it can be a little bit expensive, but it's a cost that's really justified. So for a woman starting out, to find a good coach is definitely my biggest advice. And also probably finding a gym that you feel comfortable to train at is really important as well. But I just can't encourage women enough to get started in strength sport, even just lifting some weights, whether you want to just lift for fun, whether you have a goal. It just makes you feel fantastic about yourself. It's really important that women, do some kind of strength training.
Hey, Kate, we touched on coaching, and, I know you've worked with some amazing coaches over the years. So do you want to do a bit of a shout out to all your past coaches and tell us about your new coach? I see an announcement just the other day.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been so lucky. I've always been a really big believer in outsourcing to have a great coach. I've never tried to coach myself because I feel like everyone has different knowledge that they can bring to the table. And my first coaches, Nexus Performance, over in Australia, were my first powerlifting coaches. And we worked online for about 5 years, and they were phenomenal. They were so good. They're great programming, so helpful to me. Then when I moved on to a bodybuilding style of training, I decided to work with Mike Debenham. And he is just a phenomenal Australian-based coach. Absolutely fantastic.
Soon to be New Zealand-based.
And now he's going to be New Zealand-based. He's moving to
right.
Christchurch.
Yep.
So for anyone in Christchurch, especially that wants a coach or even a great personal trainer, then Mike Debenham is your guy. I've worked with Afa from Strength Fit for Strongman, who is the most lovely, big-hearted strength coach.
Yeah,
I've worked with Chris Powerlifts. Afa's amazing. Afa's so nice.
Great guy.
Chris Powerlifts, who's got amazing technical knowledge. And so I've now moved my journey into a new direction. So I'm going to be working with Kurt Dell from Team Next Level for the foreseeable future. Kurt's someone I've always enjoyed his approach to training. I enjoy the science, I guess, behind what he does. Yeah. And so far, what he's put together for me, I feel is going to be a game changer for myself. So I'm really excited for how that's going to go.
Awesome news. Awesome news. Big shout out to Kurt. I am going to get you on, Kurt. I keep meaning. I know you're locked in there. I spoke to Kurt and said that we want to catch up along with a lot of other people. We're pushing through it. There's a bunch of people, but Kurt, good to hear. He's had some real success lately with some of his athletes, and obviously he's got a great background. Sorry, Mike, I'll pass back to you.
No, all good. I'm still blown away with how many quality people actually want to come on our podcast. It's pretty cool.
Really neat.
I don't know. Last thing from me, in this section anyway, have you got any advice for men when it comes to interacting with women in the strength and powerlifting bodybuilding field?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, isn't it? I find that a lot of men in the gym, for example, are maybe a little bit hesitant to compliment a woman on her physique. Perhaps they think it might come across as flirtatious or creepy. But you know, like a woman who's training hard in the gym, she appreciates a compliment. You know, if she has developed her legs, for example, or if she's obviously training hard, then if a gentleman feels like he wants to come up and say, hey, great work on your training, that's really nice, because we don't often get compliments on how hard we train or how we're looking. So I feel like in the gym context, then just treating us like anyone else in the gym is totally acceptable. That's my opinion anyway. You know, just treating us like we are equals, I guess. And in terms of, I was thinking about this as well in terms of a relationship, in terms of having a relationship with a lady who is into the bodybuilding world. And I talked to my partner about this. And I think it's just that bodybuilding, like any other hobby that you would have. So it's just buying into the person's hobby, making sure that you're supportive, that you try and, you know, understand or be involved in some way. You know, it doesn't mean you both have to be, you know, into bodybuilding, but if you can show some interest, if you can come to the gym every so often, then, you know, that means the world. You know, that means so much, just to feel like you're supported, that your goals are important and that you can work together to achieve them.
I think it's important for all guys in all arenas to be secure enough in themselves to allow and accept and help their partner to be the best they can be in whatever field they happen to be, whether it be bodybuilding or something else. There is a little bit of an ego thing that can go with bodybuilding and intimidation side of things, but I think it's really important to support them in whatever area.
Oh, absolutely. Whether it's bodybuilding or cycling or knitting or whatever it is, you know, I'd always hope that my partner will support me, whatever that is. And I understand with bodybuilding in particular, maybe us larger ladies can come across as being a bit masculine, or we can be a bit scary, but we're not at all. Like we want to be treated like ladies. We want to be treated as, you know, small feminine ladies. So we're not really any different from anyone else. We just might have bigger muscles than, you know, a general lady. But you know, in terms of like, we still want a partner who's going to look after us and protect us, you know, that all kind of stays the same.
Quite often I say to, you know, the people I've had on, you know, we talk about partners, and I always refer to the better half and that. And I kind of thought about it. I thought, how do I refer to that in Kate's case? Do I say the better half? Or I'm going to say your better half, Ethan. How's his training going? Because I caught up with him and he said, oh, Kate's really pulling away now, so I've got to step my game up. Has he stepped his game up?
He has. He's been phenomenal. Ethan is such a superstar. He's so thoughtful. You know, he doesn't have, you know, the same goals as I do at the moment. You know, he trains because it's good for his mental health, and it's good because he wants to relax on the beach, sort of thing. But, you know, even if he's not feeling it, he'll still come to the gym and he'll spot me. He'll help me with my sets. And there is nothing that I would appreciate more than that, because, you know, for someone to take their time out of their day to come to the gym to help, you know, to help me achieve my goals, that just means so much to me. And so, you know, we probably will never be eye to eye in terms of, you know, he probably thinks I train too much, and, you know, but he still accepts it. That's just part of who I am, and I'm probably not going to change. So, you know, I'm very grateful to have him. So,
yeah, cool. Hey, shout out, Ethan. It was good catching up at the recent Nationals. So it's been a long time, but it was cool catching up. Hey, should we have a look at your Instagram? Because there's some pretty cool pictures on there. I've got to say, one thing I will say, if you're interested in farm animals, go on Kate's Instagram, because you've got a real zoo out there, haven't you?
I do. I've been a little bit slack posting the animals recently. I've had a few people actually ask me to post more, but I do. We have 40 acres of a farm, so we've got every animal under the sun, really. So it's like my little sanctuary. Oh,
nice. It's important to have your little sanctuary, you know, where you can go home and just sort of leave the world behind, and, you know, because we're so intense in the gym, and you just sort of, when you come home to a place that you can just go, oh, this is my little paradise. So good. Love it.
Very peaceful. Yeah.
Hey, I'll pull up this Instagram, mate. Right, so for those that would like to follow Kate, here's her Instagram. And as you can see there, Kate's little bits down there about being a pro in two sports, which I still can't get my head around. And the first photo I pulled up was, what a transformation, Kate. Talk us through this one.
Yeah, this is definitely a good example of a transformation. So I was about 38 kg on the left-hand side. So I was so skinny. And that was at the New Zealand Triathlon Championships. And then obviously on the right-hand side, a lot bigger. I think I probably weighed about 84 there actually. So it's actually a big difference. And that was that World's Strongest Woman on the right. So just such a difference. Not much of a difference in mindset, to be honest. I still trained really hard for both sports, but a very different physique and very different goals.
Yeah. What was the I can't remember the name for that, like an Africa stone. What did that weigh?
Oh, so that's a Hasselfeld stone. So that was from me, it was about 120, but it was the last part of a medley. So we had to lift 2 other objects before we lifted the Hasselfeld stone. Ooh. So it was a beastie object.
Cool. Next one up from your pro debut. How's that? Look at that. That is just you just nailed your conditioning, Kate. I was mind blown when I saw those photos. I was just like, wow, look at Kate.
Thank you. I was so happy with that. I just couldn't have done anything more. Long term, there are definitely things I need to work on, but for that particular package, I did everything I could to bring my best, and me and Mike worked together so well for that. And there's nothing I would change. I also got some really good feedback from the judges about what I need to improve to improve on my ranking. So, but I couldn't have been happier with that. It was really good.
Yeah, it looked amazing. You guys obviously were a great team because you really nailed it. In that photo there, you can just see you got that paper thin skin. The separation of those hamstrings is just phenomenal. I would say, and don't, I guess, take this the wrong way, but even for a guy to get that conditioning is, you're doing some dark days and you're going to some pretty murky places to get there. So how hard was it for you to get yourself into that level of conditioning?
The conditioning side of it was pretty tough. I just started a new relationship, of course, with Ethan, probably about 8 weeks out from the show as well. So poor Ethan had to deal with me. I was miserable. It was very tough, and I definitely had some dark days, but I knew I didn't have the size to bring to the show. I knew I wasn't going to be big enough. So all I could do was bring my best conditioning, because I knew the girls would be a lot bigger. So, I just did everything I could. I did the cardio. I ate, exactly to the letter. And it was a couple of tough weeks for sure. But, once you stand on stage, it's all worth it. Every part of it's worth it. So, part of, the show or part of the prep is going through the dark days. That's kind of almost the fun of it. You get to the end, you're so proud that you achieved it.
Isn't it a weird thing to think that, we put ourselves into these really dark places knowing that that's where we've got to be, and we get to the end and go, yeah, it was all worth it. And I mean, it really is. It's like, I guess, like climbing a mountain, and you're clawing to get every inch you can get. And, when you get to the top, it's all worth it. But it's crazy the things we put ourselves through mentally to actually achieve those things. And there's another one.
If a new boyfriend can handle those 8 weeks, he's a keeper.
Exactly. 100%. I know. I couldn't believe he stayed around. I was like, the poor guy.
Oh, yeah, some really neat separation there. Anyway, I'm going to move on to some of your strength stuff. Oh, favorite event, Atlas Stones. Is it actually an Atlas Stone series with a varying heights in that one?
Yeah, yes, this was at World's Strongest Woman. So the final 6 ladies, I think, 5 or 6, got to go through to the Atlas Stone series, and then the first place would win the competition. So it was went from a tall height to a short height, and then the stones got heavier as you went throughout the series. So it was, I love Atlas Stones. It's kind of like the pinnacle of strongman, isn't it, really? It's like the final event, the raw event.
Everyone wants to be King of the Stones or Queen of the Stones, I suppose. It's the money event. Yeah, I really enjoy that event. Gives you some pretty neat marks on your arms and chest and things, and when the skin stays on the stone afterwards. But Yeah, I mean, it's a real test of strength, and you know, obviously for those that don't know the background, it come out of you know, some of the Scottish clans have, you know, have their own manhood stones, and to become a man, or you know, if you go to Iceland to become full styrka, you know, or fully strong, you've got to lift a stone of a set weight that different areas had, and that's why I guess there's so much history behind it. And it's a fantastic overall body strength event. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, and it's always last. So it's nearly always last in a strongman competition. So you've just gone through, you know, 4, 5, 6 events, and then you have to pick up these heavy stones. So it's just the ultimate strength.
Yeah,
It's such a fun.
love it, eh? Love it. Got a video of you benching here because I guess some of the boys want to know how strong you really are, and
I think I forget how much I lifted, you know, like when you haven't lifted so much for a while.
what was your best bench, Kate, out of curiosity?
So my best bench was 147.5. I've spent pretty much my whole life trying to get 150, and I haven't yet lifted 150. So it's still on my bucket list. So yeah, bench kind of just got stuck at 147 forever.
Oh, that's really awesome. Hey, look, that's really cool. Watching you do that, it's really empowering. I actually find that watching some of the female athletes, both in bodybuilding, but particularly in the strength stuff, it really gives me a hurry along more than it does the guys. And I think when I caught up with yourself at the nationals and I saw you, I thought, oh, I've got to get my game together. You know, I've really got to step it up. More so than when you see the guys, because it's probably the fact that you don't see as many women, you know, in our sport. And when you do, and you see ones that are sort of really giving you a hurry along in terms of their size or conditioning or their strength, it's hugely motivating. So, you know, I'm all for having gym fulls of strong girls that are training and empowered, and because it lifts our game as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I am seeing more women in the gym now who are lifting heavier, who are pushing themselves. You know, no longer is it, you know, the 4 sets of 10 at the lightweight, but, you know, girls are coming in and really pushing themselves, going close to failure. And it's so exciting to see, because I think people are celebrating the strength of women more. It's much more accepted, especially much more so than when I was younger. So it's really nice to see. And I think it's nice to have feedback from, you know, males like yourself who say, you know, hey, that's really cool. Like, you guys are doing awesome.
I was really lucky. I think I was really lucky in that respect because, and this will make you laugh, when I first kicked off with my powerlifting, I had one aim, and my aim was to be as strong as Kate Mitchell. And and I remember Kathy's weights, and I think at the time she'd done maybe a 260 squat or something, near 140 bench, and about a 240 deadlift or something. And I was lifting, you know, 100 kilo bench and maybe a 160 deadlift and stuff like that. And I just thought, one day if I train really, really hard, I can be as strong as Kathy. And that was a huge motivating factor for me when I was a young man. And so I was lucky enough, I guess, to see some really strong females that were really strong role models as well, and have a really good acceptance of it. So I think the more normal that becomes, is, you know, be hugely beneficial for our sport as a whole.
I think so as well. And I like you say, people like Kate Mitchell who lift crazy weights, you know, it's great for guys to see that, because she was incredibly strong. So, and I think the more strength athletes come through that are female, guys start to see, you know, girls can do it, which is very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, look, guys, we're kind of coming up to time, so I just want to say a huge thank you, and just for giving us a real insight into things that perhaps we've been a bit scared to ask, or some of our viewers, you know, wanted to know but thought, might get my head bitten off. From my experience, the ladies in the gym are really, really approachable. They're great people. They're as humble as the rest of us. They might look scary and lift scary and all those things, but deep down, you know, they're like the rest of us. And my respect to all the ladies out there that are lifting, and for those that are thinking about it, get into it. So again, Kate, thank you for that insight. I've been really appreciative to have that, and I wish you all the very best. And I'm going to be following your journey with very a close focus. See how you go.
Thank you, Vera. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure, Kate. Take care.
Thanks, Kate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll be having more ladies on too. So that's really cool. We're going to get a bit more of a presence here. So for the ladies out there, keep watching and stay safe out there. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Take care.